The cursor blinked mockingly on Marcus's screen. 3 weeks. 21 days of staring at code that refused to cooperate. His apartment had become a graveyard of energy drink cans and crumpled notebook pages. Rain hammering against his window matched the rhythm of his growing frustration. He pushed back from his desk and rubbed his temples. Another wasted Thursday night. 6 months ago, Marcus had everything figured out. His app development company was thriving. His business partner, Daniel, handled the business side while Marcus created the magic in code. They were going to change how people connected online. Then Daniel disappeared with their investors' money and left Marcus with nothing but debt and a reputation in ruins. Now Marcus worked freelance gigs from his cramped apartment, trying to rebuild what was stolen from him. The knock startled him. 3 sharp raps that cut through the storm's noise. Marcus checked his phone. Nearly 10 at night. Nobody visited him anymore. His friends had drifted away during his spiral into work obsession. He approached the door cautiously and peered through the peephole. A woman stood in the hallway, completely drenched. Water dripped from her dark auburn hair onto the worn carpet. She wore an expensive-looking coat that was doing nothing against the storm. Marcus had seen her once or twice since she moved into the building last week. She lived 2 doors down, always seemed to be carrying art supplies or strange books. Tonight she looked desperate. Marcus opened the door. The woman's green eyes met his with surprising intensity. She didn't speak immediately, just stood there, studying him like she was reading something written on his face. Then, without asking permission, she stepped past him into his apartment. "Thanks," she said, her voice carrying an accent he couldn't place. "The super isn't answering. My key broke in the lock. I've been standing in that hallway for an hour." Marcus stood frozen, door still open. "I wait." "What?" She was already walking through his living room, taking in the chaos of his workspace. Her fingers traced along his desk, pausing at the sketches he'd made for app interfaces. She picked up one of his notebooks, scanning his frantic planning notes. "You're stuck," she said. "It's not a question. A statement." "Excuse me?" Marcus finally closed the door, his surprise shifting to annoyance. "Look, I'm sorry about your key, but you can't just walk in here and Celeste," she interrupted, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "And you're Marcus Chen? I know who you are." The word sent a chill through him. "How do you?" "Your name's on the mail downstairs. Also, you leave your blinds open. I can see you working from my window. Every night, same spot, same frustrated expression." She smiled slightly. "You throw things at exactly 11:30 when nothing works." Marcus felt exposed. He hadn't realized anyone was watching his nightly meltdowns. "That's kind of creepy." Celeste shrugged, wringing water from her hair into his sink without asking. "I observe people. It's what I do." She noticed his coffee maker, a high-end model he'd bought in better times. "May I? I'm freezing." Before he could answer, she was already making coffee, moving through his kitchen like she'd been there before. Marcus watched, bewildered, as this stranger made herself at home. She found his good mugs, the ones he never used anymore, hidden behind boxes of cereal. "You're not really locked out, are you?" Marcus asked. Celeste paused, considering her. "Answer, my key really did break. But I've been waiting for an excuse to talk to you." She poured 2 cups, handed him one. "You interest me. Why?" Marcus accepted the coffee, noting she'd made it exactly how he liked it. 2 sugars, no cream. "Because you're brilliant but broken, your code, the bits I can see from my window, it's elegant, sophisticated, but lately it's like you're writing." With handcuffs on, she sat on his couch, ignoring the mess of papers. "What happened to you?" Marcus wanted to tell her to leave. This was too much, too invasive. But something about her directness, her complete lack of social pretense, made him want to answer, "My business partner screwed me over, took everything. Now I can't seem to create anything worth keeping." "Betrayal?" Celeste nodded. "It rewires your brain, makes you doubt your instincts. Every decision feels like a potential mistake, so you make no decisions at all." "You're a therapist," Marcus said. It wasn't a question. Behavioral specialist. "I work with artists and innovators who've lost their way." She set down her mug, pulled her wet coat tighter. "But I'm not here professionally. I'm here because I recognize something in you. What's that? The same thing I see in myself? Someone who's forgotten that the best things happen when you stop trying to control everything. She stood, walked to his whiteboard covered in failed algorithms. Your problem isn't technical. It's that you're trying to create alone. Innovation happens in collision, Marcus, when different minds crash into each other. The way she said his name made something shift in his chest. Before he could respond, she was at his door. I should go find a locksmith. Thanks for the coffee. Wait, Marcus heard himself say. You could ... stay until the locksmith comes. The storm's getting worse. Celeste turned, that slight smile returning. I thought you'd never ask. She walked back in, removed her soaked coat, and sat at his desk. Without hesitation, she began sketching something on his notepad. Marcus watched her work, realized she was redesigning his failed interface. Her approach was completely different from his, organic where his was rigid, intuitive where his was logical. What are you doing? Showing you what you can't see, she said. Sometimes we need someone else to sit in our space and show us it's not as broken as we think. Marcus moved closer, seeing his work through her eyes. For the first time in months, he felt possibility stirring. This strange woman had walked into his life like she belonged there, and somehow, impossibly it felt, like she did. Morning arrived with Celeste still there. Marcus found her asleep on his couch, one hand still holding a pencil, the other curled under her cheek. His notebook lay open beside her, filled with designs that made his original work look amateur. She'd spent the entire night reimagining his failed project, turning his rigid structure into something fluid and alive. He made breakfast quietly, but the smell of scrambled eggs woke her. She stretched like a cat, completely unself-conscious about being in a stranger's apartment. You cook, she observed. Another hidden talent. Just eggs, Marcus said, handing her a plate. The locksmith? Coming at noon? She took a bite, nodded approval. I should confess something. I'm not just a behavioral specialist. I specifically work with tech creators who've experienced trauma. Your case was mentioned at a conference I attended. Daniel Torres's betrayal. The company collapse. I moved here to find you. Marcus nearly dropped his coffee. You're stalking me? Researching, she corrected. There's a pattern to how creators recover from betrayal. Most never do. They become shadows of themselves, too afraid to trust their instincts again. But a few, the exceptional ones, they transform, become something greater. I think you're one of those few. Based on what? Watching me fail through a window. Celeste pulled out her phone, showed him a presentation. His old work, projects, from before Daniel. Based on this, your early creations were revolutionary. You solved problems nobody else even saw. But then you partnered with Daniel, and slowly your work became safer, commercial. It was killing your creativity long before. He stole from you. Marcus stared at the screen. She was right. He'd been compromising his vision for years, letting Daniel convince him that profitable meant playing it safe. Why do you care? 'Cause I've been there. Celeste's voice dropped. 5 years ago. I had a practice in Berlin. A business partner, also my fiancé, published my research under his name, took credit for everything we'd built together. I spent 2 years unable to work, unable to trust anyone. Then I learned something important. What? That isolation isn't protection. It's prison. The only way through is to let someone see your broken pieces and trust them not to cut themselves. On your sharp edges, she moved to his desk, gestured for him to join her. So here's my proposal. We work together for 1 month. I help you rediscover your creative core. You help me with my new research project on collaborative recovery. No contracts, no obligations. Just two broken people figuring out how to build something new. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct screamed against trusting anyone again. But something about Celeste felt different. She wasn't hiding her own damage. She wore it openly like armor made from scars. 1 month, he agreed. They started immediately. Celeste's methods were unconventional. She made him code with his eyes closed, describing what he wanted to create instead of seeing it. She had him build interfaces using physical objects before touching a computer. She played music that made no sense, abstract jazz and electronic noise, saying it would rewire his neural pathways. Your brain is stuck in patterns, she explained on day 3. We need to create new roads for your thoughts to travel. Shh. Worked alongside him, developing her own framework for creative recovery. They fell into rhythm. She would pose impossible problems. He would find innovative solutions. He would hit walls. She would show him doors he hadn't seen. By the second week, Marcus noticed changes. His code flowed differently. Instead of forcing solutions, he let them emerge. Celeste taught him to trust his first instinct, the wild idea before logic tamed it. That's it, she exclaimed one evening, seeing his latest creation. Look what you've built. It's completely unconventional, but it works perfectly.
Hey, Marcus.
Looked at his screen, she was right. He'd created something he never would have attempted before. An app interface that learned from user emotions, adapting in real time. It was complex, risky, potentially revolutionary. I couldn't have done this alone, he admitted. Nobody creates in isolation, Celeste said. Even lone geniuses need someone to witness their madness, to tell them when crazy becomes brilliant. Their sessions grew longer. Celeste started bringing dinner. Marcus found himself looking forward to her arrival each day. She challenged everything he thought he knew about creation, about himself. But more than that, she saw him, not the failed entrepreneur or the betrayed partner. She saw the creator he'd forgotten existed. One night, 3 weeks into their experiment, Celeste arrived looking shaken. She sat down without her usual energy, staring at his wall of designs. Bad day? Marcus asked. My ex found me. He's been calling, says he wants to collaborate again, that he's changed. Her hands trembled slightly. It's been 5 years, and his voice still makes me feel small. Marcus sat beside her. For once, he was the one offering support. You taught me something. People who betray us, they don't get to define our future. We do. She looked at him, vulnerable in a way he hadn't seen before. It's easier to teach than to practice, with me, Marcus said. You've been helping me rebuild. Let me return the favor. Celeste smiled, the first genuine, unguarded smile he'd seen from her. You already are. Every day you trust me enough to create. You help me believe that collaboration doesn't always end in betrayal. They worked until dawn that night. Not on code or research, but on something harder. They talked about fear, about the courage it takes to trust after being broken. By morning, they'd crossed a line. They weren't just collaborators anymore. They were two people choosing to heal together one day at a time. Marcus discovered the truth by accident. He was looking for a pen in Celeste's bag when he found the folder. His name was on the cover. Inside were newspaper clippings, court documents, even therapy notes from his sessions after Daniel's betrayal. The dates went back 8 months, long before she'd moved into his building. His hands shook as he read her handwritten notes. Subject shows classic signs of post-betrayal creative paralysis. Approaching directly would trigger defensive mechanisms. Need organic entry point. The words blurred as anger rose in his chest. Everything had been planned. Their meeting, her locked door, even her vulnerability about her ex. He'd been a research subject all along. Celeste walked in carrying Chinese takeout, saw the folder in his hands. Her face went pale. Marcus, I can explain. Explain what? That everything between us has been an experiment? I'm just data for your research. He threw the folder on the desk. You're no different from Daniel, using me for your own gain. That's not true, she said quietly, setting down the food. Yes, I came here for research. Yes, I plan to meet you. But everything that's happened between us, that's real. How can I believe anything you say? You've been lying since day one. Celeste sat down, her usual confidence gone. You want the complete truth? Fine. I've been studying cases like yours for 3 years. Brilliant creators destroyed by betrayal. Most never recover. They become ghosts of themselves. When I read about your case, something felt different. Your work before Daniel, it reminded me of myself before Berlin. Had to know if you could come back from it. So I'm an experiment. You were supposed to be. She met his eyes. But that first night, when you let me in despite having every reason to shut the world out, something changed. You weren't just a case anymore. You were Marcus. Broken, brilliant, brave Marcus who still made coffee for a stranger. Marcus paced his apartment, processing. Your locked door? I jimmied it myself, but the storm was real. I being cold and scared. That was real too. She pulled out her phone, showed him emails. Look, 3 weeks ago, I told my supervisor I was withdrawing you from the study. Said the subject was non-responsive. I've been coming here on my own time since then. Why? Because I care about you. Not as a subject. As Marcus. The man who codes poetry and throws pencils at exactly 11:30. Who makes perfect eggs. And terrible jokes. Who's teaching me that maybe collaboration can mean something more than just work. Marcus read the emails. She was telling the truth. She'd removed him from her research, even lied to protect his privacy. You gave up your study for me. I gave up a study that was becoming unethical the moment I started having feelings for you. She stood, moved closer, but didn't touch him. I should have told you sooner, but I was scared. My ex, he was a subject first too. Swore I'd never cross that line again. Then you happened, and every rule I'd made for myself stopped mattering. This is insane, Marcus said. You studied me like I was a lab rat. I studied you like you were a masterpiece I was trying to understand. Her voice cracked. Do you know what I saw in those first observations? A man so afraid of being hurt. Again, that he'd stopped living, working 18-hour days. Not because he loved it, but because exhaustion meant not feeling. I saw myself 5 years ago, and I couldn't just walk away. Marcus slumped in his chair. The anger was fading, replaced by something more complicated. So what was real? What was manipulation? The first meeting was planned? Everything after that? ... Marcus, I haven't been following any protocol. Every technique I used, I was inventing. In the moment, responding to you, not to some textbook. You want to know the truth beneath all of this? I'm just as lost as you are. I'm making this up as I go, hoping that two broken people might figure out how to be whole together. The room fell silent. AIM Squatty slashed him. Marcus looked at the work they'd created together. 3 weeks of innovation born from their strange collaboration. His best work in years, maybe ever. You used your own trauma to help me? Your story about your ex? Every word true? He still calls? Still tries to convince me we could work together again? She laughed bitterly. The irony is, helping you face your demons has made me realize I've been running from mine. Marcus stood, walked to the window. The city lights blurred through the rain. He thought about the past 3 weeks. How Celeste had challenged him, supported him, seen him in ways no one else had. Even if it started as research, what they did built felt real. I need time, he said finally. To process this, I understand. Celeste gathered her things. At the door, she turned back. For what it's worth, you were never just a subject to me. From that first night, you were the possibility that maybe I could trust someone again, that maybe we both could. She left, and Marcus stood alone in his apartment. He looked at the folder she'd left behind. Reading deeper, he found something that stopped his breath. Her latest notes written just days ago. Subject has exceeded all parameters. But more importantly, he's taught the researcher that healing isn't a solitary journey. We're not doctor and patient anymore. We're two people choosing to rebuild together, one broken piece at a time. At the bottom, in different ink, clearly added recently, I think I'm falling in love with him. This is no longer research. This is my life. Marcus stared at the words. Tomorrow, he would have to decide whether to trust someone who'd started with deception, but ended with truth. Whether to risk his heart on someone who understood his brokenness because she carried her own. Whether to believe that sometimes the best things begin with lies, but end with something real. Ow! He picked up his phone, started typing a message to Celeste, then deleted it. This wasn't a conversation for texts. Tomorrow, he would go to her apartment. They would talk. Really talk. About trust and betrayal and the possibility of building something genuine from a foundation of deception. Tonight, he would sit with the truth beneath it all, that despite everything, he was falling for her too. Marcus stood outside Celeste's door at 7 in the morning, holding 2 cups of coffee. He'd spent the night thinking, coding, and finally understanding something crucial. Trust wasn't about finding perfect people. It was about choosing imperfect ones and building something anyway. She answered in pajamas, her hair a mess, tears still visible on her cheeks. Marcus, I didn't think you'd come. We need to talk. But first, look at this. He handed her his laptop. On the screen was a new app interface. I call it TrustBridge. It's a platform for people recovering from professional betrayal, connecting them with others who understand. I built it last night thinking about us. Celeste's eyes widened as she scrolled through his work. This is incredible. The algorithm for matching people based on their specific trauma patterns. Marcus, this could help thousands. I want you to be my partner. Not research partner, business partner. It's equal stakes, equal say. He set down the coffee. But first, complete honesty. Both ways. No more hidden agendas. She looked at him, hope flickering in her eyes. You're serious? After everything? Daniel taught me that betrayal comes from people who hide their true intentions. You hid yours, yes, but then you revealed them. That's the opposite of what he did. Marcus sat beside her. Hey, I'm not saying I fully trust you yet, but I want to try together. Celeste pulled out her own laptop. Then you should see this. She showed him her real research. Not cold clinical notes, but passionate writing about connection, healing, and the courage required to trust after trauma. This is what you inspired, not data. A manifesto on collaborative healing. They spent the morning merging their work. Marcus's technical brilliance with Celeste's psychological insights. The app evolved from simple concept to something revolutionary. A platform that didn't just connect people but guided them through the process of rebuilding together. We need funding, Celeste said. I know someone, a venture capitalist, who specializes in mental health tech. But Marcus, she's in Berlin, my old city. Marcus saw the fear in her eyes. Berlin meant facing her past. We go together. Face your demons like you helped me face mine. 2 weeks later, they stood in a gleaming conference room overlooking Berlin. Across from them sat Victoria Hoffman, one of Europe's most successful tech investors. Celeste's hands shook slightly. Kosa quietly took one, squeezed it. This is remarkable, Victoria said, reviewing their presentation. The algorithm alone is worth millions. But tell me, what makes you think people will trust a platform about trust? Marcus stood. Because we're not hiding our story. Celeste and I both experienced betrayal. Found each other through deception that became truth. Our platform isn't perfect because we aren't. But that's exactly why it works. Victoria leaned back. You're asking me to invest in a company founded by 2 people who met through lies? We're asking you to invest in transformation, Celeste said, finding her voice. In the idea that broken trust can be rebuilt into something stronger. Our story isn't our weakness. It's our proof of concept. The meeting lasted 3 hours. They answered every hard question, addressed every concern. Victoria smiled. I'll give you €2 million to start, but I want monthly updates. Real ones. Your journey is part of what I'm investing in. That night, in their Berlin hotel, Celeste broke down. I did it. I came back here. Faced it. We did it, Marcus corrected. That's how this works now. She kissed him then. Not planned, not analyzed, just pure instinct. When they pulled apart, both were breathless. That wasn't very professional, she said. Nothing about us has been professional, Marcus replied. Maybe that's why it works. They returned to build their company. Days blurred into weeks of 18-hour sessions, but different from Marcus's isolation before. They worked side by side, challenging each other, supporting each other. The platform grew from concept to beta to launch. The response was overwhelming. Within a month, they had 10,000 users. Stories poured in. People finding partners, collaborators, friends who understood their specific trauma. The platform wasn't just working. It was transforming lives. We did this, Celeste said one evening, looking at the testimonials. And we took our broken pieces and built something beautiful. Marcus pulled up their latest feature. Look at this. AI-powered trust exercises. It learns from successful partnerships and helps guide new ones. We're not just connecting people, we're teaching them how to trust again. Their investor meeting 6 months later was different. They walked in as equals, confident in what they'd built. Victoria looked at their numbers, their user testimonials, their expansion plans. "This is beyond what I expected," she said. "You're not just successful, you're revolutionary. I want to increase investment to 10 million and bring in strategic partners." But the biggest transformation wasn't the company, it was them. Marcus had learned to trust his instincts again, to create without fear. Celeste had discovered that collaboration could mean growth, not loss. Together, they'd proven that the best innovations come from the most unexpected places. "You know, it's funny," said that night, celebrating in his apartment where it all began. "If Daniel hadn't betrayed me, I never would have met you. If you hadn't deceived me initially, we wouldn't have had to learn real trust." "You saying you're grateful for the pain?" Celeste asked. "I'm saying sometimes destruction is just transformation wearing a disguise." He pulled her close. "We're living proof that the worst things that happen to us can become the foundation for the best things." She smiled, that same mysterious smile from their first night. "Then here's two broken things that become beautiful. Two lies that become truth. Two people who walked through deception to find something real." They toasted with coffee mugs in the apartment where a locked door had opened up their entire world. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new growth, new trust to build. Tonight, they celebrated transformation, not just of their company or their careers, but of themselves. Two broken people who'd found a way to be whole together. 1 year later, Marcus stood in their new office overlooking the city. 30 employees worked below, each one carefully chosen, each one understanding the mission of TrustBridge from personal experience. The wall behind his desk displayed framed articles: Tech Innovator of the Year, Most Promising Mental Health Platform. But the one that mattered most was handwritten, a note from their first user thanking them for saving her career and sanity. Celeste walked in carrying champagne. Acquisition offer just came through. $50 million. Marcus turned from the window. "That's life-changing money, it is." She set down the bottle without opening it. "So why don't you look happy? Because I know what you're going to say and you're right." He sat down, pulled up their user metrics. "We have 500,000 people depending on us. Selling now would be another betrayal." Celeste smiled. "Remember our first night, when I just walked in and sat down like I belonged there? I need to tell you why I did that. You said you were locked out. That's what happened, not why I stayed." She moved to the window, looking at the city below. "I'd been watching you for weeks. Yes. But that night, when you opened the door, you looked exactly how I felt. Lost, frightened, desperately trying to hold it together. And I thought, this is where I belong, not your apartment, but with someone who understood being broken." Marcus joined her at the window. "And now I know belonging isn't about finding someone who's broken the same way. It's about finding someone willing to heal alongside you." She turned to him. "We're not selling. We're expanding. I've been in talks with European partners. Can take TrustBridge global. That means more travel, more pressure, more risk. That means more people helped, more lives transformed. More proof that trust can be rebuilt." She pulled out a ring box. Marcus's breath caught. "I'm not proposing," she said quickly. "Not yet. But I bought this to remind myself that some risks are worth taking. Trusting you with my heart is the best decision I ever made." Marcus took the box, opened it. Inside were 2 matching bands, simple titanium with a single engraved word: trust. "You bought yourself an engagement ring? I bought us promise rings? Promises that we'll keep choosing honesty over comfort, growth over safety, each other over fear." She took one, slipped it on his finger. "If you'll have me, not just as a business partner, but as someone who belongs with you." Marcus put the other ring on her finger. "You want to know something? That first night, when you sat on my couch like you'd always been there, I was terrified. Not of you, but of how right it felt Like my apartment had been waiting for you to walk in. A knock interrupted them. Their assistant entered. The Berlin conference call is ready. They're waiting for your decision on the European expansion. Celeste looked at Marcus. Together. They walked into the conference room where their team waited. Marcus pulled up the expansion proposal. 3 years to build trust bridge across Europe. Huge risk, massive potential. Everything they'd been working toward. Before we decide, Marcus said to the team, everyone should know something. Trust bridge started with a lie. Celeste came to study me. I was supposed to be research. Instead, we became partners. We built this company on a foundation of deception. That transformed into trust. If anyone has concerns about that, speak now. The room was quiet. Then Jerome, their lead developer, who'd been betrayed by his co-founder, spoke up. We all came here broken, every single one of us. If you two could build trust from lies, then we can build an empire from ruins. Nods around the table. These weren't just employees. They were believers in the mission because they'd lived it. Then we expand, Celeste announced, but we do it our way. No rushed growth, no compromising values. We build trust one connection at a time. 6 months later, at the Berlin launch event, Marcus watched Celeste address a crowd of 500. She told their story without hiding anything. The deception, the pain, the choice to trust anyway. The audience was captivated, not by a corporate success story, but by human truth. Trust isn't about finding perfect people, she said. It's about choosing imperfect ones and building anyway. It's about walking into someone's life, sitting down like you belong there, and then doing the work to make that belonging real. After her speech, Marcus found her on the balcony. You were incredible. We were incredible. It's the whole thing. Everything we've built, it's us. She leaned against him. I've been thinking about that night. If my key hadn't broken, if the storm hadn't come, if you hadn't opened the door, ... Then we would have found another way, Marcus said with certainty. Some connections are inevitable. They just need the right moment to begin. Even if that moment involves lying about a broken key, especially then. The best stories start with imperfection. Pulled out a real ring box this time. Celeste, you walked into my life without permission and claimed a space like you'd always belonged there. Turns out you were right. Do. Belong there with me. Always. Will you marry me? She laughed, tears streaming. Yes, but only if you promise to keep letting me rearrange your life without asking. Deal? They kissed as the Berlin skyline sparkled below. Two people who'd started with deception and built something true, who'd taken their broken pieces and created something whole, who'd learned that trust wasn't about being perfect, but about choosing to be imperfect together. The next morning, Marcus woke to find Celeste at his laptop redesigning something. What are you doing? Improving your code? It's good, but it could be better. She looked up, smiled. That's what we do. Right? Make each other better? Marcus laughed, remembering that first morning when she'd done the same thing. That's exactly what we do. He sat beside her, and together they worked on the code that would connect millions of people. Two former strangers who'd found where they belonged. Not in a place, but with each other. Building trust one line of code, one conversation, one choice at a time.